Mom, can you not make this about you for once? Honestly, you're kind of a burden. He didn't even whisper it. He said it loud enough for the entire restaurant to hear right in the middle of my grandson's birthday dinner. My son, my only child. I remember the moment as if it were framed in time. The clinking of forks, the happy chatter, the bright balloon arch behind the table. I was still holding the envelope $50 tucked inside for little Noah. I'd barely even had the chance to hand it to him when Adam turned toward me, lips tight with irritation, voice cold and clipped. It was the waitress who froze first, still pouring water into someone's glass. Then, the silence swept across the long table like a winter gust. I felt it in my chest before I even fully understood it. That hot, cracking feeling. Not anger, not yet, just shame. Raw, stinging shame. The kind that makes your ears ring. I tried to blink it away, smile through it. I even opened my mouth maybe to say I'm sorry or I didn't mean to upset anyone, though I didn't even know what I'd done. What I had said only minutes earlier was, "Oh, I thought it was next weekend." I almost didn't come, but I didn't want Noah to wonder where Grandma was. That's it. That was my crime. Across the table, Adam's wife, Jenna, looked at me like I'd grown a second head. She took a long sip of her wine and whispered something to the woman beside her. They both laughed, eyes flicking over me like I was someone who didn't belong there, someone who had shown up uninvited. Noah had been so excited when I arrived. He ran to me, hugging my legs tight, pulling me to see the cake shaped like a fire truck. But now, he was quiet, looking between me and his dad. I saw his small hand lower the toy car he'd been holding, saw the confusion begin to rise in his soft, 6-year-old face. Still, I tried to play it off. I'm sorry, Adam. I didn't mean no. Mom, you never mean to, but somehow it always ends up being about you. You show up, and suddenly the whole table is holding their breath. That's when it really hit me. Not just the words, but the tone, the finality in them, the line being drawn. He didn't see me as a mother anymore. He saw me as excess, an obligation, a burden, and nobody stopped him. Not his wife, not his friends, not even my brother, who sat at the far end of the table, eyes down, chewing quietly like this was just another awkward family dinner. Only one person noticed the way I trembled Noah. He slid his hand into mine under the table, didn't say a word, just held it, quietly, and I thought I can't cry here, not in front of him, not in front of all of them, so I smiled. I excused myself to use the restroom. I stood up slowly, adjusting my cardigan like it could somehow hold me together. And I walked away, eyes forward, past the birthday banners and the balloon animals, past a table of teenagers who'd heard everything and were now whispering, wide-eyed, behind napkins. I made it to the restroom, locked the stall, and I cried. Not loud, not angry, just this soft, heaving kind of grief, the kind you only feel when someone you love looks you in the eye and tells you that your presence is too heavy, that your love has expired, that everything you gave, everything you sacrificed, somehow didn't buy you a seat at the table anymore. I had paid off his student loans, helped with the down payment on their house, watched Noah for free, 3 days a week, even when my back was killing me. But I was the burden. I didn't know what hurt worse, his words, or the fact that they came so easily. And yet, through the stall wall, I could still hear the party going on, the laughter, the cake being cut, the candles. As if I hadn't been erased just 5 minutes ago. But I wasn't gone. Not yet. I dried my face, looked at myself in the mirror, and for the first time in years, I didn't recognize the woman looking back. When Adam was born, I remember thinking I will never let this child feel alone in the world. It was raining that day light, cold April drizzle against the hospital window. His tiny face was pink and scrunched and perfect. My husband, Mark, had tears in his eyes, but I knew even then I would be the one carrying most of the weight. Mark was gentle, kind, even, but sick. His heart had started failing before Adam turned 2, and from that moment on, I stopped being a wife and started being a nurse, a mother, and a full-time provider all rolled into one. Our house was small, the kind that needed you to choose between running the dryer and the microwave, but it was ours. And somehow, even through the overtime shifts and hospital runs, we made it feel warm. I worked mornings as a receptionist at a dentist's office and cleaned offices at night. There was one winter when I didn't buy a coat, just so Adam could have the Spider-Man one he wanted. He wore it every day, even slept in it for a week. I never told him I'd had to patch my old one with duct tape. I don't say that to make myself a martyr. I say it because that was love. That was motherhood. Mark passed when Adam was 13. It was quiet, peaceful, even. I sat by his side, holding his hand, whispering that I'd take care of our boy, and I meant it. God, I meant it with everything I had. That first year after Mark died was the hardest. Adam wouldn't eat, barely spoke. Some nights I'd hear him crying in his sleep. I'd sit outside his door, back pressed against the wall, listening, praying the pain would pass, that he'd find his way through. I picked up weekend shifts, sold our old engagement ring when the roof needed patching, took night classes in bookkeeping so I could switch jobs and earn a few more dollars per hour. Adam was bright. He got into a state college on partial scholarship. I cried on the bus the day we dropped him off, couldn't afford gas to drive him myself. Still, he hugged me before he left and whispered, "I'm gonna make you proud. Mom, I'll take care of you one day." That line lived in my chest like a small, flickering light. Over the next few years, he called home less, said classes were hard, said he was working part-time to make ends meet. I sent care packages, ramen, socks, little notes. He didn't always write back, but I figured that's just how boys are. Then one day, he called crying, said he was drowning in debt, that his student loans had piled up, and he didn't know how to stay enrolled, so I paid them. $112,000. I emptied out my retirement savings, cashed in every bond Mark and I had tucked away, took a loan against the house. I didn't even hesitate, because that's what you do for the people you love. I never asked for anything back. When he graduated, I sat in the audience in a plain blue dress from the thrift store. He waved at me from the stage and mouthed, "I love you." Mom, I believed him. After that, he moved fast, got a job, met Jenna. She was, well, let's just say she never liked me much. Always thought I was too involved in Adam's life. Once, she told me I gave single mom energy, like that was a bad thing. I laughed it off. When they bought their house, I contributed to the down payment, quietly. Through Adam, he promised me he'd list my name on the title as a just in case. I never saw the paperwork, but I trusted him. Later, when Noah was born, I watched him 3 days a week. I'd take 2 buses across town, knees aching, just to hold that little boy. He'd fall asleep on my chest while I hummed the same lullaby I used to sing to Adam. Full circle. I didn't complain. Even when Jenna criticized how I fed him. Too soft, she'd say, too indulgent, but I just smiled. Love looks like softness sometimes. It should. Even when I got sick last year, just the flu. But rough, I didn't call them. I didn't want to be a burden. I sat with my tea, watched the clock, waited until I could breathe without coughing, and went back to Noah's the next morning. I don't think they ever knew. I wrote everything down, though not to guilt trip anyone, just because I'm a record-keeping kind of person. There's a little green notebook in my dresser, right under the photo album. It's got dates, receipts, details of every deposit, every tuition check, every gift, not because I wanted repayment, but because I wanted to remember, to remind myself that I had loved, fully, fiercely, without asking for anything in return. And now, sitting in that restroom stall after my son called me a burden in front of his wife, his child. And strangers, I thought about that notebook. It's funny. I used to think it was just a habit, but now I realize it's proof. Proof that I wasn't imagining things. Proof that I was never the problem. And maybe, just maybe, proof that it's not too late to rewrite how this story ends. The Monday after Noah's birthday, I brought over a container of beef stew. It was Jenna's favorite, or used to be. She didn't say, thank you, just nodded, said, just leave it on the counter, and went back to her phone. I stayed only 10 minutes, kissed Noah on the forehead while he was coloring at the table, and slipped out quietly. That was the last time I was inside their home without permission. The next week, I showed up as usual to watch Noah while they went to work. But the key I'd been using for 2 years didn't work. I knocked, waited, knocked again. Jenna finally opened the door, hair still wet, coffee in hand. Oh, I forgot to tell you we're switching things up. We've decided to enroll Noah in part-time daycare, socialization, structure, that kind of thing. I stared at her, but I thought I was watching him Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We just feel it's time for a more professional environment. Professional. Like I was some teenager who didn't know how to care for a child. I didn't say anything. I nodded, walked back down the steps with the little stuffed dinosaur I had brought, and held it like a handkerchief the whole bus ride home. The next few weeks were quiet. No calls, no visits, no invitations to Sunday dinners, not even texts with Noah's drawings, which Adam used to send like clockwork. Then Easter came. They hosted a brunch. I found out about it from Facebook. There were photos, dozens. Everyone smiling around a pastel-decorated table. Noah in a tiny vest. Adam carving ham. Jenna posing with her parents. I wasn't in a single shot. I hadn't even been told. Still, I called, left a voicemail, just said I missed them, said I was thinking of them. I didn't ask why I wasn't invited. I didn't ask anything, really, because I was still trying to believe this wasn't deliberate, that they were just busy, tired, disorganized, until Mother's Day. I got a flower delivery from the neighbor, not from Adam, not even from Noah, that Sunday. I walked to church alone, sat in the back, watched little kids hand out carnations to smiling grandmothers. When I got home, I found an envelope taped to my front door. I thought maybe it was a card from Adam. It wasn't. It was a bill from their mortgage company. Apparently, the account was still under my name, something they forgot to update. I called the number on the notice. The woman on the phone asked if I was aware of the overdue balance. I wasn't. I covered it. Again. $600. No one called to say thank you. Weeks passed. Then one evening, I was invited formally. This time to a small summer gathering at their house. Jenna's family would be in town, and they wanted everyone to meet. I bought a new blouse, baked a lemon tart, wrote Noah a little letter tucked in a card that said, "You're always enough." When I arrived, Jenna opened the door and blinked like she didn't expect me to come. Oh, you made it. Inside, everything was polished. Music, candles, perfect hors d'oeuvres on white platters, but there was no place set for me. Literally, no chair at the main table, not even a cushion by the kitchen island. I stood there, holding my tart like it was a mistake. Jenna's mother whispered, "Who is that?" And I heard Jenna reply, "Adam's mom. She kind of just shows up." I found a stool by the laundry room, ate a few crackers, said very little. After dinner, I helped gather the dishes. Jenna stood by the sink and said, "You know, you really don't need to clean. You're not the help." And then she laughed. I smiled. I always smiled. But something inside me, quiet and steady, cracked. A week later, Adam called. He said they wanted to have a real conversation, said it wasn't healthy for me to be so involved. Involved, I asked. "We just think you might be happier in a place with people your own age, a community with services, support." They wanted to move me into a senior facility, not because I was sick, not because I asked, but because they'd already toured one, because Jenna had brochures, because, to them, I was inconvenient. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just listened. And when Adam said, "We think it's time," I finally asked time for what he hesitated, time to let us live our lives. That night, I didn't sleep. I walked from room to room, looking at everything I had kept over the years: Adam's first drawing, Mark's favorite mug, the little ceramic angel I'd bought the week Noah was born. And then I found it, the notebook, green leather cover, frayed edges, my handwriting on every page, the records of what I'd paid, what I'd given, not for guilt, for memory. I read through every entry, and then I wrote a new one. Date Sunday. Note asked to leave their lives. Response not yet. Because something shifted that night. A truth settled in. They didn't see me anymore. Not as a mother, not as a human being, just as a line item, a phase, a thing to manage. But I wasn't going to disappear quietly. The next day, I walked into a lawyer's office, not out of anger, but because I realized I needed to remember who I was before they made me forget. The lawyer was maybe 40, young enough to be my son, which made me nervous at first. But he listened, really listened. Didn't blink when I told him the story. Didn't interrupt. Just sat there, eyebrows slowly rising with each number I laid out: $112. So dollars for loans. $38. Some dollars for the house deposit. 3. $600 mortgage bailout. He nodded when I showed him the little green notebook. Pages curled at the corners, but neat as a ledger. He tapped his pen against his notebook and asked, "Are you on the deed to their house?" I paused. "I think I am. Adam said my name would stay on, just in case." He pulled up a county property database. There it was, in bold, capital letters, my name, as co-owner. Not just in case, not symbolic, legal. That house isn't fully theirs, he said, tilting his screen toward me. And if they want to move you out, they'll have to buy you out. I don't know what I felt in that moment. Not joy, not revenge, just grounded, like the floor I'd been slipping across for months had suddenly turned to stone beneath my feet. And I knew right then that I didn't need to scream to be heard. I just needed to act. The lawyer helped me draft a letter. It was calm, professional, firm. It stated that I no longer wished to be part of the co-ownership agreement, that I was ready to sell. That if Adam and Jenna wanted to keep the house, they would need to buy out my portion within 60 days. If not, I would file to force a sale. We sent it certified mail. I didn't hear anything for a week. Then Adam called. His voice was clipped, nervous. "Mom, why are you doing this?" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I just said, "Because I've been erased. And I finally realized I was never supposed to disappear." He said I was being dramatic. I said, "I was willing to disappear quietly. You made it loud." He hung up. 2 days later, Jenna texted, "We need to talk. Family meeting this Sunday. Please come." So I did. I wore navy, hair curled, fresh lipstick, not to impress but to remind them I still existed. When I arrived, their living room was too clean, chairs arranged in a perfect half circle. Jenna's parents were there, sitting like judges. Adam paced near the fireplace, holding a folder. Noah sat on the stairs, hugging a stuffed raccoon. Jenna cleared her throat. "We feel this is all a misunderstanding," she began, "and that it's been fueled by miscommunication." Adam jumped in. "We're not trying to exclude you, Mom. We just think you've been under a lot of stress." I let them speak, let them spin the narrative. I nodded politely, even smiled. Then I reached into my purse and took out 2 things, the green notebook and the letter from my lawyer. I didn't wave them around. I just set them on the coffee table. Adam froze. Jenna tilted her head. "What is this?" I met her eyes. Calm, steady. "It's proof of what I've contributed, what I've given, of what's legally mine, and what I'm now choosing to step away from." "You're going to evict us," she snapped. "No," I said. "I'm offering you a choice." Silence. Then Jenna laughed. Bitter. Shrill. "You know what? Maybe it's better this way." Adam's already talking to a real estate agent. "We'll sell. Fine. But Adam, he just looked at me, mouth open, something fragile breaking in his stare. I almost softened. Almost. But then Jenna turned to Noah and said, "Sweetie, go to your room." And Noah, God bless that boy, didn't move. He stood up, walked past them, and sat next to me, held my hand, looked at his parents and said, "You guys are being mean." Jenna turned red. Noah, "You told me Grandma was confused, but she's not. She's just not treated nice here. I didn't plan what happened next. I just did it." I reached into my purse again and pulled out the USB. See, what I haven't told you yet, what even Adam didn't know, was that 6 months earlier, Noah had started using my old phone when I got a new one. And one day, while I was picking him up, he recorded a conversation by accident, a conversation between Jenna and her sister. They were laughing, talking about me like I was a stray dog they couldn't get rid of, how I was hanging on like a parasite, how they hoped Adam would grow a spine and cut me off for good. Noah didn't understand the words, but I did, and I saved that clip, not to hurt anyone, just in case. Now I handed it to Adam, said, "You can listen, or you can ignore it. Either way, I'm done being quiet." Jenna turned white. Adam took it, didn't say a word. I stood up. Noah hugged me. "Are you leaving?" I kissed the top of his head. "Not right now." Then I turned to Adam one last time. "I gave you everything. Your childhood, your education, your family. I carried it all, and all I asked was to be seen." He said nothing. Jenna folded her arms. I left without another word. The sun was just setting when I walked to the bus stop, sky burning soft orange. My reflection in the glass shelter looked taller, more solid. For the first time in months, I wasn't bracing for the next blow. I had drawn my line, and this time, they had to listen. 2 weeks after that living room meeting, the for sale sign went up. Jenna was the first to break. Word got out faster than either of them expected. Maybe it was a neighbor who saw the sign, or one of Jenna's Pilates friends who knew a little too much about their finances. Either way, the whispers started. And in a suburb like theirs, whispers move like wildfire. People wondered aloud why they were selling so quickly. Some assumed foreclosure, others figured divorce. The truth. It wasn't said in full, but the clip, the one on the USB. It found its way into a family thread. My niece sent it to me with nothing but a shocked face emoji. By the next weekend, 3 people from Mark's side of the family had called. 2 left voicemails. One of them just said, "I'm so sorry. We didn't know." And I believed them, because I hadn't told anyone. I had kept my humiliation locked behind closed lips. But now it was no longer my shame to carry. The audio didn't just reveal Jenna's disdain. It revealed their plan, the manipulation, the slow, methodical push to get me out of their lives and out of the home I helped them build. The story wrote itself. At church, people approached me differently, a little more carefully, a little more respectfully. Some offered hugs. One of the deacons simply pressed a small card into my hand. It read, "When people show you who they are, believe them." Meanwhile, the buyers weren't biting. Their realtor suggested lowering the price. Apparently, half ownership complications make people nervous. Even if I had already offered to sign my portion over after being bought out fairly, no one wanted to risk conflict with the co-owner mother. So Jenna and Adam were stuck in a mortgage they couldn't afford on one salary, stuck in a house with a broken story, stuck answering awkward questions from neighbors and friends. Jenna started showing up at work late. Adam missed 2 Little League games. Noah told his friend's mom he didn't know where they were moving to. She asked him why. He said, "Because Daddy says we have to get rid of the problem first." The mom texted me, said she'd be happy to watch Noah anytime I needed, said you don't deserve this. None of it. And that's when I realized I wasn't alone anymore. The shame had been replaced by truth, and truth has a way of shifting weight. Then one morning, Adam showed up at my door. Alone. No tie. No folder. Just Adam, my son, the boy I once held through fevered nights, who cried in my lap when he skinned his knees, who once told me he'd buy me a house one day. He looked tired, and for a long moment, he didn't speak. Then, quietly, he said, "We can't do it." I waited. He exhaled. "We can't buy you out. Jenna's parents won't help. The mortgage is upside down. We were hoping for a miracle, or for you to just let it go." I stayed silent. "And now," he added, "Jenna's staying with her sister. She said she needs space. Still, I didn't speak. I know what we said, what she said. I didn't stop her. I didn't stand up for you." He looked at the ground. "I don't deserve to ask for anything. But I'm here because I need to say it. I'm sorry. I didn't cry. Not this time. I just looked at him and said, 'I gave you everything. And now, I'm giving you freedom from me.'" He blinked, confused. "I've signed the papers." I continued. "I'm releasing my stake in the house. I don't want the money. I want my peace." His face twisted. "But that's Mom. That's not fair to you." "No," I said. "It's not, but it's right." He nodded. Slowly, I added, "You'll never owe me again. Adam, not money, not apologies, not explanations. You're free. I am too." He left without hugging me, and I think that hurt him more than anything else. 3 days later, I got a letter from Jenna's attorney. They accepted the terms. No payment. No contact. I walked away from the house, from the legal bind, from the shadows of expectation, but I didn't walk away from myself. A week after that, Noah showed up at my door, backpack on, holding a drawing of a raccoon and a smiling sun. "Dad said I could visit," he whispered. I let him in, made us grilled cheese. He asked me why I wasn't angry. I said, "Because anger burns too long, and Grandma's got too much life left to waste it on smoke." He nodded. And then he asked the question that stopped my breath. "Can I come more often? I like the quiet here." I smiled. "You can come whenever you want." These days, the quiet doesn't scare me anymore. I used to wake up and wait for someone to need me. A phone call, a request, a text asking for a favor. I used to mistake that for love being needed. But now, I wake up to something softer. My little apartment isn't fancy. It sits above a flower shop, so the hallway always smells like eucalyptus and baby's breath. The windows face east, and in the morning, the light pours in like forgiveness. Every Thursday, I walk 2 blocks to the library and help read to the children during story time. It's mostly toddlers, sticky fingers and wide eyes, and every so often, one of them climbs into my lap like it's the safest place on earth. No one asks what I used to be. They only care that I show up. On Tuesdays, I take a painting class at the rec center. I'm not good, not really, but there's something satisfying about mixing colors. About watching the brush move without worrying what the result says about me. There's a woman there, Gloria, who once told me, "You've got a kind face," and that stayed with me longer than I expected. And once in a while, when the weather is just right, I'll find myself sitting on the park bench near the fountain, sipping tea from a thermos, watching strangers walk by and thinking, "So this is peace. It doesn't ask for anything back." Noah visits on weekends. He likes my grilled cheese better than the kind at home, and he's convinced I put something magical in the tomato soup. I tell him it's just basil, but he says, "No, it tastes like you." We don't talk about his parents much, but sometimes he asks questions in his own way, like, "Grandma, why do grown-ups forget stuff that really matters?" Or, "Do you think people ever realize too late that someone was the good kind?" I answer gently, not because I have all the answers, but because I know what it feels like to be the one forgotten. And now, I refuse to forget myself. So, if you're still watching this, if any of this felt familiar, let me tell you something. I wish someone had told me sooner. You are not disposable. You are not just helpful or convenient or tolerated. You are still whole, still worthy, still here. If someone once called you a burden, look at what you carried. Look at who you lifted. Look at how long you walked on aching feet without asking anyone to take your hand. That is not weakness. That is not shame. That is strength most people will never understand. And maybe it's time for you to stop asking them to. So take the class, plant the garden, say no without guilt, sit in the sun without explaining why you're not doing something else. Let go of being the good one, if it means you're only good when you're useful. You are allowed to outgrow the spaces that no longer honor you, and you are allowed to begin again, even now, especially now. If this story reminded you of something in your own life, if you've ever been made to feel small in a space you helped build, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. You never know who might be reading, who might need the reminder, and if there's someone in your life who needs this message, someone who's forgotten just how much they matter, share this with them. Let them know they're not alone. And if you'd like to hear more stories like this, stories about strength in silence and dignity reclaimed, you're welcome here. Subscribe if you feel called to. But more than anything, take this with you. You are not a burden. You are the proof that love can survive even silence. And you are still becoming.